Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm so excited to talk about football again. It's been a minute. Welcome to the Our Turf Football Podcast. I'm Dana. We have Sonia and Kate with us tonight to kick off. We've been talking about this upcoming season because of the draft and all that stuff, but this is it, right? Like, you're getting into the OTAs, you're getting into the mandatory camps, you're doing all that fun stuff. And what does that mean? That means it's real. And that means that this season is starting to kick in, and I'm so excited for it. I want to say this first. Kristen, God love you. She was here 15 minutes before the show started to say hi to us. I'm so glad we're back too, Kristen. We appreciate you are here every week, and we just love you for it. Thank you so much. I wanted to tell you guys too, there's this new feature that StreamYard blew up and changed all kinds of fun stuff. So you guys might see us look a little different every single week. But you can put the comments right here in this little box down here that's shaded down there in the corner. And so as the show goes on, we might turn that on so everyone can see your shows. All right, everyone. Sonia, how was your break?
My break was great. I did a lot of momming and going to visit LSU, go Tigers, and all the things. So yeah, had a great time off.
It's awesome. I know. We take this little break. There's lots of shows that continue to do it every single week. We take this break for our own brains. Kate, I needed the break for my brain. How did you do?
I needed the break for my brain. I'm still trying to deal with Sonia being excited about sending one of her kids to the SEC.
Look, it's more so the fact that she found some place that she likes than it is the fact that it's the SEC.
That's
and
funny.
It's close to New Orleans, so there's that too.
Okay.
So
there ain't nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
There ain't nothing wrong with that. All right, everyone. Well, as you guys know, for those of you guys who followed us for years and years, this is, I think, going into our 15th season. Believe it or not. Now, we've been under different names because we were under different umbrellas at the time. That we've been under Our Turf now since 2017. But we've been doing this a minute. But every offseason, or really June into July, we go through each one of the divisions. We do an overview of kind of where they're at, if they have new head coaches, their draft, that sort of thing, and kind of some of the biggest issues that might be going on with the team, plus some of the good things that went on with this team, with the different teams. So over the next few weeks, we are going to be doing two divisions a week. We try and group them. So they're going to be tonight, the AFC and NFC North, so that we get touch on both sides so that it's not too AFC heavy, too NFC heavy. We try and cover both of them. We will be putting out shows, the upcoming shows on YouTube, so you'll be able to tell when your division is going to be coming on, and you'll be able to come in. First and foremost, if you are watching over on Facebook or on Twitter, then please come over to the YouTube channels. We have a fantastic live chat that we are so excited when people join us in there. We want your opinions. We post your thoughts live. If you have questions, we answer them. We enjoy the interaction. This is not a show that does not do interaction. We love it. So come over to the YouTube channel. Please join the live chat so you can tell us your thoughts. All right. Kristen says, congratulations to your daughter. She's really excited.
I am.
So that's awesome. So tonight, like I said, we're going to do the AFC and the NFC North. We're going to start with the AFC North. Quick overview is that there's no new head coaches in this division. They all have come back. Again, there's been some changes. Don't worry, we'll get there. I promise. And no, we did not pick this division because of Aaron Rodgers. That happened after we had the whole schedule laid out, just so you guys know. There were a couple of the teams where had good drafts. Baltimore was considered to have one of the best drafts in the league. Probably didn't hurt that they had 11 picks to use to get a really good draft. And then Pittsburgh was considered to have a pretty good draft also. Might help that they got Derek Harmon. I mean, you get Derek Harmon, you're going to have a good draft, right? Then the other two teams, Cincinnati and Cleveland, known to have more kind of mixed reviews. Some thought they did really well. Others didn't think quite so much. We're going to talk about one of those draft picks, though, here in just a second when we talk about Cincinnati. Actually, yeah, Cincinnati and Cleveland are going to talk. We're going to talk a lot about those teams right now. There are a couple of new quarterbacks. Ooh, God help us. Finally, I feel like Aaron Rodgers was trying to pull LeBron James when he left Cleveland, went to Miami, draw it out. We're like, nobody cares, Aaron. Just, we know you were Pittsburgh's third choice. And so therefore they took you on top of it, on top of everyone else. And then Cleveland, of course, has all of the quarterbacks. So I'm sure he is going to want to jump in on that one. Couple of offseason issues that are going on for each team. Cincinnati, contracts. That has been a disaster for them. It's been a mess. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Pittsburgh not knowing until 4 days ago who their quarterback was going to be. Baltimore seems to have no issues. They re-signed everyone they needed to, and it looks beautiful in Baltimore right now. And then Cleveland, probably the biggest issue is going to be that quarterback situation. So, Kate, this is your division. Why I asked each of you to kind of pick what the biggest storyline within the division or what the biggest issue was within the division. Where did you land? I have an idea where you landed, but where did you land with that?
Yeah, Lisa's not here, so someone has to talk about quarterbacks.
Amen.
The quarterbacks are the story in the AFC North. You've got Lamar Jackson coming back in Baltimore. They are far and away Vegas odds, everybody's odds on favorite to win this division. You've got Joe Burrow coming back in Cincinnati, and they've had a rough couple years. They have underwhelmed and underperformed. And then you have what I would call, you have a couple different hot mess situations in Cleveland and Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh, they signed Aaron Rodgers. I love Mike Tomlin. I think Mike Tomlin is like one of the best coaches to ever stand on a sideline. I don't know that he is prepared for the level of crazy that is going to hit their locker room. And they brought Mason Rudolph back, and I'm not clear on why and why they believe in him, because he's got his own share of problems. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on what's going on in Pittsburgh this season, because I don't even know if Aaron Rodgers will make it to week 1. Like we saw that with the Jets when he got hurt. He's not the Aaron Rodgers that was at Green Bay. He's a different cat. So at the same time, Pittsburgh finds a way to win. I don't think Mike Tomlin's had an under 500 record ever. But then you've got the Browns locker room. And I was sharing a meme the other day. The Coke bottles with the names on them. There's, Deshaun, and there's Joe, and there's Shador, and there's Kenny Pickett, and then the little Dylan Gabriel one, which I'm sorry, he's 5'10" on a good day. I'm not sure why you're drafting a quarterback who can't see over your offensive line. You've got Shador Sanders, who can be lights out in training camp, but you took him so late in the draft that's a storyline. I spent 20 minutes on a radio show in Cleveland yesterday discussing if we thought Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett were going to win the starting job. And we were 20 minutes into the conversation before we even remembered that Deshaun Watson is still on the roster. Theoretically, it's his job, but he's in Miami or he's wherever he's at, and he's ahead of schedule on. They can't have 5 on the roster by the time we get to opening day. What do you do? And so it becomes the storyline of the season becomes, what is the point? They won 3 games last year. They let Nick Chubb go. They drafted really well. We got Mason Graham and Carson Swessinger in the draft to help the defense. Yes. We got Carson. John Judkins, and we got, running backs. We let Nick Chubb go. And as I have said before about Zadarius Smith and Amari Cooper and a few other people, Nick Chubb has gone on to a better place. Yes, he will be. I'm very happy for him. We have nothing but love for him here. And I understand the business of why he needed to go. But we don't know what the point is of the season. Is it to figure out your quarterback situation, or is it to get past last year's 3 wins and remind these players how to win games again and to show the fan base that you can win games? Because I don't know how much longer the fans are going to stick around for quarterback number 42 in the last 20 years. And we're in the high 30s now, and I have 5 on my roster. You don't have enough room on the roster to have 5 on opening day.
Yeah, it's true. I was listening to NFL radio on Sirius the other day, and one of the, I don't know, I listened to all the shows, so I'm not sure which one it was. does not expect Shedeur Sanders to be on the roster past training camp, which was a big surprise to me. But Sonia, I want to give this to you. The point they were trying to make is that he will catch on somewhere else and probably be better for it just because he will escape the drama. I would be surprised, though, if they decide to do, after all the hype around Shedeur, like, wouldn't it make more sense to get rid of, you keep Joe Flacco because he'll win you a couple of games. So right. you get rid of your other draft pick. I don't know. Sonia, where do you land on this?
I think it would behoove him if he stayed, just because it would just be a whole bunch more hoopla, like you said, just like a whole bunch more attention. And that's what he doesn't need. That's what the Browns don't need. They just need to go ahead and focus on what's next, because then it becomes, oh, well, where's he going to go? And it's going to be the draft all over again, because then it'll be who's going to pick him up. And that's where all the attention is going to be. Now, in Cleveland, it needs to be on him developing, or him, doing what he needs to do, and them getting it together and winning more than 3 games this year.
Right. 100%. So this is the part of Cleveland that I love right here. Bob says Myles Garrett on Aaron Rodgers during the AFC North, a good opportunity to put him in the graveyard. God, I love him. I swear to God, I would have given up everything to get him in Seattle. I'm not even kidding you right now. But and that defense, though, they understand the job.
They do. They underperformed also last year, but that's that whole domino effect of crappy field position and what they had to deal with. They have a lot to prove, and the front office showed that it was important. Our first 2 draft picks were defense. So they showed the importance of making sure that defense is good and making sure that Myles is good. I love the way he talks about, the quarterbacks he's going to get to go after in this division. But we have to win games. Our first 2 games are division games. We start the season Cincinnati and then Baltimore. You can't start, no matter how good Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders look in training camp. Neither one of them, I don't think, needs to start week 1, because they're still learning. They're rookies. They need to learn the NFL and everything that's going on. My wild, crazy prediction, and I agree with Michelle, is Deshaun is our starter. Joe Flacco is his backup, but I think Shedeur makes the roster, because I think if he leaves, it adds to that storyline that he's difficult, or that he's a problem, or that whatever the off the field stuff is. I think if Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel look good enough in training camp, other teams are going to be interested in them and are going to want to take them. So I think the 3 that we end up with are Deshaun, Joe Flacco, and Shedeur. And if they're just trying to figure out the quarterback situation, then week 6, week 8, let Shedeur start. Let him get some time. But they need to get, I cannot stress enough how much they need to get some wins early in the season to just keep that locker room in one piece.
Yeah. So let's talk about the other teams in this division Pittsburgh's its own kind of mess. Cincinnati's its own kind of mess. Yeah, the Ravens are good. They're like, we're nice. Move along. Ignore us, please. I love that about them. But I do want to talk about Pittsburgh for just a minute. And I want to bring up, you said, Sonia, that Mike Tomlin is one of the best. I don't think. God, you know how I love Mike Tomlin. Michelle said it in the comments too. We love him. He gets to deal with Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf. I don't know that our sweet Mike Tomlin can handle that, because, and I know he's not sweet. Don't everyone get all over me. I know he's all rough and tumble. That's why we like him. But I like DK Metcalf. I liked him playing for Seattle. He was great. It was definitely time for him to move on. I was totally fine when that happened. The interesting thing about this is you have a guy who wants all the glory in Aaron Rodgers. You have a guy who wants all the glory in DK Metcalf. It might work for a little while, but eventually there's going to be some serious headbutting, especially if Aaron Rodgers does not perform well and get DK the ball. I think that's going to be insane and probably more trouble than worth. And then you look down the line at the rest of Pittsburgh's wide receivers. Like, I don't know who else is going to help him. So outside of Aaron Rodgers and his divaness, do you think, because half of the media think that this all of a sudden catapults them to the top of the division, which is hysterical to me, but you might disagree. No. I don't think Aaron Rodgers made this team any better.
No, I don't think he did. I think he's not who he thinks he is. I don't think that his durableness is definitely going to be a question, especially late in the season, especially, as Pittsburgh tries to make a run. He's not who he thinks he is, and it's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin can definitely handle it. He's from Newport News, Virginia, so he can. But at the same time, he will. But it's not going to be a pretty season there. I don't think it is.
I don't think so
either. Their quarterback room is interesting also, and they don't have, aside from DK Metcalf, you don't know who any of those other wide receivers are, and the running backs
tight ends aren't bad.
Better.
Yeah,
their running backs aren't any better.
Yeah.
They've got Pat Freiermuth coming back at tight end, who will see a ton of targets.
Yep.
But in their quarterback room, aside from Mason Rudolph, they've got Will Howard.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Will.
Forgot about him.
Buckeyes won a national championship even with him on the roster. And Skylar Thompson out of Kansas. So maybe we might see one of those guys sooner rather than later. But I think the lack of weapons, 6 years ago, Aaron Rodgers would have made everyone else better. 2025 Aaron Rodgers needs weapons, and he has two that I can see on that entire offensive roster is DK and Freiermuth. And I don't know who else is going to be touching the ball.
I don't either. So Bob's like, is DK going to be any less of a diva under Tomlin? Here's the thing. I don't consider DK a diva. I just consider him someone who desperately wants to be the hero. He plays hero ball a lot, and he gets frustrated very easily. So I don't really think that's diva. I think that's pure competitor. So I'm not being disrespectful to DK. I just know how Aaron Rodgers usually treats those type of players, and I don't know that it'll be good. So then Michelle says in comments, Metcalf will be a different receiver with Aaron Rodgers because of the level of respect Rodgers demands. That's the problem. If he's not showing it and demanding that type of respect, that's going to come back to haunt him, I think. I think it'll be interesting. So then Steven says, how could you think he can improve a team? We all know a married man is a different man. He's going to be on his P's and Q's. He will die. Oh, I hope that was sarcasm. I really, really, really hope that was sarcasm, Steven. Thank you. But this is interesting. Aaron really didn't play much better than Russ last year. He didn't play better than Russ. You're 100% correct. And then look who's here. Our Lisa says, I see Pittsburgh picking up a camp QB and signing them to the practice squad. Maybe. We'll see. I think this one's going to be interesting. So I want to get in because, okay, we have 2 minutes till we have to switch divisions. I don't think we need to talk about Baltimore. They're fabulous. They really are.
They're set.
If any of our Ravens fans are listening, we love what you did. It was beautiful. Well done. Congratulations. They re-signed everybody they needed to. They extended everyone they needed to. It was perfectly run.
They got rid of their kicker, though.
Yes, they did get rid of their kicker. Thank the stars. And then they added Hopkins, too, for a 1-year contract. So that's really interesting with Baltimore. Cincinnati is the one that is fabulously disastrous right now. They have all this talent, right? They have Joe Burrow. They have Higgins. They have all of this talent everywhere except for in the front office. So as you guys know, Shamar Stewart came out today in an interview, said he's not practicing. He's their first round pick because they can't get a contract done. What came out later in the information, and this is just something the team hasn't said, yes, this is it, but it sounds pretty legit. The team is trying to set a new precedent with rookie contracts and be able to void future guarantees. That is not done in rookie contracts. And Stewart is like, the hell you will. And that is the crux of it. They are trying to figure out how to reset the stage. They're trying to outgame the game at this point. And it's hugely backfiring. And not just with him. Also, there is this whole Hendrickson thing that they're trying to just sign him. He's one of the best players. He had the most sacks in the league last year, one of the best line. Come on, right? And they're not. And they're doing all kinds of interesting negotiation. This is a history with this team that has been a problem. And I think that they are trying to be smarter than the NFL. They're trying to figure out some way, and it is backfiring year after year. I don't know where Cincinnati ends up week 1. Kate, where do they have their first round pick? Do they not? He made a great point. He's like, I don't have to sign that contract. I'm not under a contract right now. He's not wrong. Pull Eli Manning, right? So it's getting real interesting in Cincinnati.
Well, and it doesn't help that they start their schedule against the Browns, so they could probably beat us without Stewart.
Yeah.
I worry about the fiscal soundness of the organization, because some of the things they're doing and not doing, and the way they're doing them, speaks to me of somebody who, has to use their MasterCard to pay their water bill, or like they can't, they've got, but they don't really, it's not even like a brilliant move, like with the cap or something. It's just, it's weird.
Mm-hmm. And it feels cheap.
Defensive end. I don't know that he needs to be in camp. I think there are positions where you need to be in camp. You need to be with your fellow teammates, your either offensive or defensive line guys. I think Shamar will be fine showing up when they get this done. Mm-hmm. And I think as the season gets closer, they'll just cave. But he doesn't have to sign. He has no need to sign. As long as he's working out, he's just one of those positions where I think he'll be fine showing up and playing.
He said he's still going to team meetings. He's still working out. He's doing all that stuff. He's just not going to practice. And so Cincinnati needs to just stop. But like I had said, it just feels cheap to me. And I don't know what I'm missing. I don't know. It's real bizarre. And let me tell you, Bengals fans are not happy. If you look at social media, they have had it. They're ready to be done. And for a while there, they were blaming Stewart and Hendrickson. And now they're like, wait a minute. This is all the office. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all the office.
Because all right, should be the easiest thing to do in the NFL because it's all spelled out.
Yeah,
right.
It's done.
It's a rookie deal. This isn't a re-signing where you can get creative with things. It's a rookie deal, and this are the rules, and this is what it looks like. And
yeah. Lisa says practice. We're talking about practice. It is practice. All right, let's move on to the NFC North. So we're switching gears. This is Sonia's division. We're so excited about that. Obviously, Chicago has a new head coach in Ben Johnson. In division. I can't even still get over that. Went in division. New head coach for Chicago. Green Bay had a pretty good draft. They were the one team in the division that really was drafted, had pretty good draft capital. They got wide receiver Matthew Golden. I think that's going to be a huge help for them for sure. Mixed grade Chicago. I'm still so mad at Chicago. They stole my Zoff Frazier from me right out from underneath me in the 5th, like 2 picks. Like seriously. I was so irritated about that. They also got Colston Loveland. Could be huge.
Yeah, they did.
Detroit got Tate Rutledge in a bunch. They had a pretty good draft, just not a ton of picks. And then Minnesota only had 5 picks. And I think that's probably why they didn't get great draft grades. The players they picked were actually pretty good and seemed to fit, but they only had 5. So I think that's a huge part of it. So new quarterback. Only one is JJ McCarthy after being injured during camp last year. Who was there? He was there. Was he a second round pick or he was
their first
round pick last year. Pick. Yeah. Got hurt in camp, couldn't play the whole season, is now coming back in. Good things are coming out of camp about that. But again, it's practice. So we'll see how that goes. So a few offseason issues. The Green Bay seemed to be kind of floating along, and then they got rid of Alexander. Alexander. I don't know. He's gone. Wait, he's one of your best players. Okay, we're going to let that go. So what does he do? He says today, I wouldn't mind staying in division. Who's interested? Ooh, okay. We'll see again. Minnesota, they added some really good pieces. They added Fries, Allen, Hargrave. They really kind of did piecemeal a pretty good free agency together on that one. The Lions seem to maintain pretty well. Lost some pieces, added some pieces, but kind of stayed status quo. I feel a little bit about the Lions kind of like I do about Baltimore. Like there's not much to talk about there in like big, huge dramatic situations. And then Chicago, they added everybody. Holy cow. That team went all in, right? They got Tooney, they got Jarrett, they got Dahlman. The list goes on and on for that team. that is the team that everyone is talking about going from worst to first. So that's going to be very interesting. So Sonia, let's start with you in this division. What do you see the biggest issues or the biggest plus that's going on in the NFC North?
I think I was trying to think of a theme, like one consistent theme with all the teams. And I really couldn't. At first I was like, oh, change. But I was like, everything changes. But I think the biggest thing is going to be the Chicago Bears. And as much as I hate to say it and compliment them, they actually did pretty good, I think, by Caleb Williams. And they gave him an offensive line. They gave him a new head coach who has, some offensive smarts.
Right.
So I think that will be very good for him. He's got weapons. He's got Colston Loveland that they got from the draft. They've got the wide receivers that they had from last year. I think that's going to be the biggest question. They have the biggest potential to go from worst to first, but we'll see. I have to tip my cap. I think they're going to do okay this year. I hope they don't go worst to first, but again, that's the Lion fan in me talking. But the objective person, I think that they have the best chance to go worst to first. Coming over to the Lions, they kind of stayed quo and did what they needed to do. So I like that. But a couple days ago, their center retired. Frank Ragnow retired. And that, I think, heartbreaking because he was so good. But the injuries were just getting there. And they have a pretty decent offensive line. And I think had they known that in the draft, going into the draft, that he was going to retire, they would have been able to target the offensive line a touch more. Because I think that's going to be an issue. I think that's going to be an issue going forward. I think they still they're getting Aiden Hutchinson back. He's looking great, feeling good. That's going to be huge because, he went out. Most of their defense was out, but I think Aiden being back is going to be very big for the Lions. So I think that they have a good chance of staying in that first place role and leading the North, but it's a big question mark. I think Frank Ragnow's loss is going to be bigger than what people expect it to be. So that's my 2 cents. The Minnesota Vikings, I think, are going to be fun to watch just because JJ McCarthy is going to be in there now for the first time. And I think he is talented. I think he's going to do well. But I think they're going to be fun to watch, but I'm not 1,000% sold with them though, just because this will be JJ's first year.
You don't know.
Although, you just don't know. So I think that's where we're going there. Green Bay, I like what they did in the draft, and I like that they got their first round wide receiver that they hadn't picked since forever and a day. So that's huge. And I think they were heating up at the end of the season. So I think this is only going to fuel their fire a little bit more. And I think that this is going to be a good year for them. But I think it's going to be a very close division this year. It's the black and blue division for a reason. And I think they're going to just be beating each other up as per usual. So I think when it all settles, I'm not going to call it, but I think Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago, but all right there.
Within a couple games.
Within a few games. I think it's going to be tight.
So Big Red, he says, sorry for being late. You're fine. It's like, could this be the most balanced division? I think that it could be one of the most competitive divisions, depending on McCarthy, right? Like he is the wild card in this. And to be honest with you, we have to figure out if we've seen Jordan Love's ceiling too. I think that we have to see if he has reached what he can give us. Is there another, gear to him? We don't know that yet. And so I think there's some question marks there for sure. Obviously the other two quarterbacks, to be honest with you, really Jared Goff's the only guarantee, right? Like, because we don't know what Caleb Williams can do for sure. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. Michelle agrees with you. Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago, because she doesn't trust them. You don't know yet, right? That's going to be
true.
But I think that this is the biggest question mark for Chicago. They're set up for success. If Caleb doesn't thrive, he's not the guy, because really, truly, that is that is what we're waiting to see. We had excuses for him last year, so we had to see him this year. And then Lisa throws in the Vikings are only going to be as good as JJ. Well, Lisa, according to Lisa, every team is only as good as their quarterback. So it makes sense for sure. Kate, when you look at this division, do you see it kind of like Big Red and I do, that it's going to be super competitive and tight? Or do you think that these younger guys might, falter a little?
Well, I think it's going to be competitive and tight. Last year, you had the Lions with 15 wins, the Vikings with 14, the Packers with 11. Chicago had 5. If they can flip it and get 12, you've got double-digit wins I could see for every team in this division. I don't worry about JJ, and I completely disagree that the Vikings will only be as good as JJ is, because while Sam Darnold was good, he wasn't perfect. Overall, that is a really good team. JJ just needs to make as few mistakes as possible. Yeah. And they will
don't look like a rookie.
Right. He's a rookie. It's his second year, but he didn't play last year.
Right.
So I think for me, there are clear storylines for each team except one, right? So for Detroit, can they get past the hump? Can they get healthy? If you're going to have injuries, have them earlier in the year. Don't have them the last 3 weeks of the season.
Right.
Can you get over that hump this year? For Minnesota, it's JJ, and is he their future quarterback? For Chicago, did they give Caleb enough? I got nothing for Green Bay. I could care less. I could sleep through the Green Bay Packers. They did nothing that jumps out at me. I look at that roster, and it means nothing to me. They might be the most boring team in all of football, at least in this division. I'm like, oh, it's Jordan Love, and they got some draft picks, and they added some, they have a brand new left guard and a brand new left tackle this year via trades.
Okay.
That's big to have 2 new guys on Jordan Love's side. When I'm researching for the show, I'm thinking of all these things I want to talk about with those first 3 teams, and I really could care less about Green Bay. Yeah. The most exciting thing about Green Bay is their former quarterback went to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And maybe they need to fly under the radar. Maybe they'll quietly win games, because they seemed to do that last year. I was surprised when I looked back, and I'm like, oh, they did win 11 games, and they did go to the playoffs, and just very quietly handled their business. I'm optimistic about the Bears. I love the new coaching decision, and I think they'll turn it around. This could be the only division with 4 teams in double-digit wins.
Yeah, it could be really interesting really quickly. Depending, and as we say, all offseason and all preseason, it's all shiny on paper, obviously, as Detroit showed us last year. The minute those injuries start piling up, everything changes. But I think that from the get, this division is interesting. I'm kind of with you on Green Bay. There's not much there. And moving on from Alexander makes me wonder if they know that this year they're going to have to tweak a few things in order to keep moving forward. So it'll be interesting to see what happens during camp, if there's some other trades or changes that go on there. But we never know, right? We just kind of always, guess at this point. But I will say this. Last year, I will have to go back and look, but I think all of us predicted that Minnesota was going to absolutely fall apart because JJ got hurt during training camp. And in our pick'em show, I know I picked him to be 4th. And that was I was not being disrespectful to Sam Darnold. I just thought that totally threw off their plan. Right. And they were not going to be able to make it work. But look what they did with that. And that was a shocker to me. And again, Sam Darnold is now the Seahawks quarterback. He's not my favorite quarterback. He did a great job last year, but perfect, he was not. So you have to look at how well the rest of that team is built. And I think that that's going to be really good for JJ. So for sure.
So I have a question for you, Dana, because I think this is kind of right up your alley. For the Vikings, is it a good thing, a bad thing, or is it just neutral? They have 2 Europe games. They have a Dublin game and an Ireland game, right? Like they're going to be over
Dublin
there.
And London.
For
or is it Dublin and Germany? Where are they going? It is. They're in Dublin and Germany, or Ireland and Germany, or Ireland and London. I think it's London.
Hang on, I'll tell you.
I will tell you though, they are not coming home between them. They are back-to-back games, which makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know how much that would throw them off because I don't think other than the Jags who just move in to London for a few weeks, I don't know how much that's going to affect them. I know there's a lot of teams that really get energized by those new fan bases and the loudness. If you've never been to a Europe game, they got nothing on Seattle or Kansas City for loudness. They are loud. They're so excited to have a game there, right? And so so that could be good for them, but it might be a little tired. It might just be a little hard on them, at least that first game, which I think is the Dublin game. And so we'll see how that goes. But I think that it's really good. This is it. I just hope they do well. I don't want them to go over there and just be embarrassed. But who are they going to play next? Aaron Rodgers.
They host the Steelers in Dublin, and then they travel to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London for the Browns. And I just thought it was interesting because not only are they back-to-back weeks, but now you've got JJ, and it's his first real season of playing, and he's going to spend quite a bit of that time over there. And I kind of want to feel like that's a better thing. But I don't know how distracting it is to be. I love both of those things. I would be entirely distracted.
Yeah, I would be
doing my job.
I love them. They're my favorite. All right. So Steven says, I understand we'll find out more when they face off, but I will put the Vikes first because of the coaching being a quarterback whisperer. He so in our comments, Steven listed off how he thought the division would go Lions, Packers, Vikes, and Bears is what he had put on there. And then he said, switch the Bears with the Vikes. And I'm with you on there. And then we have Big Red. It says, do the international games put more pressure on the teams and mess with them when they get back? Or could it actually help? I think just there was one, I don't remember which team it was last year, decided to not take a bye week after their Europe game. And I'm pretty sure they lost that game. And so that would be a little, I think, don't quote me on that. Now I'm second guessing myself, but I think that's what happened. And so that would be a bit of an issue. I think that if you don't take that bye week, but if you do, I think that it would be fine. They'll be fine. Kristen says, do these divisions have tough schedules? I haven't even looked at their schedules, to be honest with you. I think a lot of teams are starting out divisionally. I know Seattle is, I know the Browns are, I think everyone's starting out with division games. So I think we're going to know a lot about them right away. I think that's going to be interesting. But I think when it comes to the teams that the Vikings have to play in Europe, they got a pretty good draw. Let's be quite honest with you. So they're going to play the Steelers with Aaron Rodgers halfway through the season. God knows if he's going to be there. All those people are going to buy tickets to go watch Aaron Rodgers play. He's not going to be there. And then the Browns, depending on where they're at. So I guess that's a good draw for them. So,
and then they have a bye. They are taking the bye.
They are taking the bye. So. Yeah. So that makes sense. 2 weeks in Europe, you have to come over and reacclimate. Sure.
The NFC North teams, I'm looking at the scheduling difficulty rankings on, I don't know if this is where it's at. The NFC East and NFC North have the toughest schedules of all the divisions based on where they finished last year, right? And which teams got through the playoffs. The 49ers have the easiest schedule, which I don't understand. The Giants have the single most difficult schedule, which I also don't understand.
They're terrible? No, sorry.
They were terrible. And my Browns were terrible last year. And we're in the top 5 in the difficulty. So I guess I don't understand that because I thought they weighted some of that. But I think now they're just on this divisional rotation of you play this division and that one. And there's no leeway given to like below 500 teams on an easier schedule. It is all just, these are the divisions you get. So
no, absolutely. So they, it's just the rotation in the division and just the luck of the draw that year, which is why San Francisco, the NFC West has a pretty easy. So I'm looking, I don't think there's a Mexico game this year. So Big Red asked if there was a Mexico game. I think that's going to be like the Brazil game or something this year.
I was about to say, is that the Brazil?
I don't know. There's so many. Isn't there like 8 or something insane this year? I'm not even sure. It's crazy. So, all right, everyone. Well, that is our show for this week. Any last thoughts on either one of these divisions, Sonia?
The NFC North is going to be fun to watch, I think. And it's just more about what's going to happen in the AFC North and how it's all going to just shake out and see what happens.
What about you?
I think the NFC North will be fun to watch if you enjoy good football. And the AFC North will be fun to watch with
Fair.
a beer and a bucket of popcorn because it's going to be drama. Drama.
Agreed.
Not
Oh my
necessarily
gosh.
good football from 3 of the 4 teams. Is
Oh my
my
gosh.
bold prediction.
Michelle.
That is hilarious. Okay, so I'm trying to find out who we have next week. Next week, we have the, hold on. I'm getting there, guys. Hold on.
Drum
I'm
roll.
getting
There's only 3
know.
choices.
there. I know. My stupid thing is giving me fits for some reason. All right. So next week we have, the AFC and NFC West is next week, folks. So we will see you here next. Sorry, I'm going to have that printed out and put on my computer so I don't have to look it up on my phone. All right. So we will have, like I said, AFC and NFC West next week. So next Tuesday, right here on YouTube, which you can also watch on Twitter and on Facebook. So, but we like it when you come to our YouTube so you can chit chat with us. It's more fun that way. So we hope you guys have a great week and we'll see you next Tuesday. Good night, everyone.